Welcome to yet another episode of Shortcast over coffee. This episode is not quite a shortcast, as we are joined by internet sensation Ricky Pond, more popularly known as the Dancing Dad. In this episode, we are going to go through Ricky's early education, career, his love for dance, and many, many other things. So without much delay, let's jump right into the conversation. This is also the very first video episode of this podcast. Let's get into it. Okay, awesome. Hi, Ricky. Thank you for being a guest on my podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, everyone knows you as the Dancing Dad. But when we spoke to prep for the interview, you mentioned that you work 10-hour days. People would love to know more about that side of you. What do you do?
I'm a graphic designer, so I do that like 10 hours a day. I've been doing that for the 20 plus years. So it's kind of, I knew I always kind of wanted to do something in the arts, and I thought I was going to be a cartoonist one day for Disney or something like that. But life kind of took a different turn, and I ended up in graphics and doing design work. So that's what I've been doing.
Did you go to college for graphic design, visual arts?
I did, yeah. I went to a design school in Los Angeles, Pasadena area, Art Center College of Design, where I got my bachelor's of fine arts there, and graduated in 2000 and been doing design ever since.
Oh, nice. And you're based out of Washington State in the US?
Yeah.
Were you born and raised in Washington State?
No, I grew up I was born and raised in Utah. And so my wife's from Washington State, so we moved here to be closer to her family. Seattle was kind of an artsy place
Hippie.
But when I graduated, the dot-com bubble kind of burst, and so it was kind of I was competing for jobs against people with 15, 20 years experience on me, and so it was really hard for a new guy to kind of break into that market or that area when you were competing for jobs with guys that had way more experience than you.
Yeah, I have something with Utah. I think all of my past three guests have had some connection with Utah. And it was like when I reached out to them, I had no idea. So I interviewed Dr. Telly Whitney. She's a computer scientist, and she went to college in Utah. And then there was another professor who went to grad school in Utah. So I don't know what's it to do with Utah. So
great state.
Yeah. I've been one of my guests was actually telling me how the people are really lovely. But obviously there is a lot of religion and all that, but I think the people are lovely.
Yeah. No, I thoroughly enjoyed growing up in Utah. It's a lot of fun, but Washington kind of reminds me a lot of where I grew up. So it was a nice transition of where I live now to where I grew up. So.
But you're not based out of metropolis Seattle, right?
No, we're probably about 2.5 hours, away from Seattle. So we're kind of more on the eastern side of the state, more the desert side.
Right. Yeah, it's actually fascinating how contrasting Washington is, even Oregon, right? I mean, the coastal side is also green, and then the other side is all farmlands and pretty much desert.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Tell me more about your family. I think everyone knows by now, but for my listeners.
I have 4 kids, 2 of which have just gotten married in the past year. And so our family's kind of grown by 2, a son-in-law and a daughter-in-law. And my son, Dallin, who they see dance in my dances quite a bit. And then I've got a younger daughter, and my wife, of course, she works in the school district, works with, kids that have a hard time, coping, or you just, having just a bad day, she'll kind of take them and just, give them some space away from everybody else and let them cool down, that type of thing. Just try to help them cope.
Okay, awesome. So Dylan is the kid who got you to TikTok? Was he the one who pushed you to make an account?
Well, Dallin and Audrey, my oldest daughter,
Oh,
and
sorry,
Dallin,
Dylan. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, the two of them, it was during COVID. Everybody was locked down. They were home from school. I was still going to work every day, but they were home every day. They watched all the Netflix they could stand, and all the TV that they could get a hold of, and they were just bored one day. And I guess it was the time when kids were really putting a lot of their parents on social media and basically just making fun of their parents, because either they didn't have any rhythm, or they were just making fun of their parents because they're old, right? And so they came up, my wife and I were just watching a show, and they came upstairs and said, "Hey Dad, let's go down and do a TikTok video." And I'm like, "No," because I said, that app's a waste of time. What are you doing on that? It's just stupid. You guys spend way too much time on there. And they're like, "Oh," and they got frustrated. They left because I just turned them down.
You were just
And
being dad.
I was just being the dad. Yeah. A half hour later, and I was busy, I was watching a movie with my wife, right? And so they come back about half hour later, and the movie had just finished. And they're like, "Come on, Dad, let's go do a TikTok dance." And I'm like, "No." And they're like, and Dallin, that's when Dallin goes, "But Dad, you got to, because I made you an account, so you got to post something." I'm like, "What?" So I said, "Okay, let's go." And so we went down and we did our first dance. And I kind of
Do you
got,
remember? Do you remember what it was?
it was, Renegade, I think it was, when it was kind of, a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was horrible at it, because it was the TikTok type dancing where it's just your hand, you're just dancing with your arms. And I looked at him, I'm like, "That's not dancing, right?" And so the next dance, I picked it and I said, "Let's do that one," right? And they're like, "Okay." And so we did that, and I just kind of got hooked, right? I danced. I grew up clogging, and I started dancing when I was 8 years old, and danced all the way through high school, and was on a college dance team. And so it was just something that I loved to do. I enjoyed doing. I always thought one day I would open up a studio and teach. I did that for a couple of years, not my own studio, but taught in somebody else's studio, and had, some classes. And it just, work got in the way, family, kids, their interests got in the way. And so I kind of put dancing on hold. And social media, TikTok, Instagram, it was kind of that avenue for me to get back into something I really enjoyed, and something that I'd missed for a long, long time.
So clogging is a kind of dance that uses a lot of your foot movements. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, it's like a tap dance. It was originated back in the Appalachians. So it was more like they kind of did a lot of stomping, and a lot of, it was a lot of footwork kind of stuff. But clogging nowadays has got a lot of tap in it, but it's different from tap, because tap, you use a lot of the balls of your feet and you're just shuffling, where clogging, you're more flat-footed, you're using more heel. But there's a lot of cross between the two. But yeah, clogging, you have a pair of shoes with taps on them, make a lot of noise, and it's a lot of fun. It's not the wooden shoes.
Oh, okay. So it was your mom who registered you to this class?
She did, yeah. My sisters were going to this dance studio, and they started a new class, clogging, and it was just the dance teacher's younger sister and her nephew that were their first group
Students.
of kids, the two kids that they taught clogging first, right? And so it was a dance recital. We all kind of went to support our sisters that were dancing. And I saw it, and I was like, hey, I want to try that, right? So my mom signed me up for it, and the rest was history. I started when I was 8 and clogged all the way through high school and into college. So,
And between your start of employment and let's say TikTok, it completely took a back step. Like, how was that? You just never danced at all?
um, well, as far as me, like when I was working, like I would go to work, come home, and then just do the dad thing, run kids to soccer practice or do all of that stuff. And now I go to work, I come home and I learn a dance. The kids that played sports are all married, and or they grew out of the sport and they no
No
longer
more,
play the
no more
sport.
soccer dad. From
No more
soccer dad,
soccer dad.
from
I'm more
soccer
of
dad to
a
dance dad. Yeah, that's nice.
right. Dallin's more of the drama. He likes doing the school musicals and the school plays and things like that. So we go and support him when he's got his shows and those type of things. But yeah, we're not. We miss the sports. We miss going to the games. We miss rooting and cheering them on and stuff like that. But our life just kind of changed and did something different. So hence it opened up some time because of COVID. Of course, it opened up time because at that point everybody's schedule was free. They weren't doing any after school activities, so it kind of recalibrated us a little bit as a family and helped us prioritize things a little bit differently. And then we kind of got back into once life started happening again, we just continued to make videos.
Hmm. This is a bit of a digression, but now a lot of companies are asking their employees to come back to work. Do you go into work, and do you prefer this over the COVID remote work scenario?
I never stopped going to work. I went to work every day. So
Oh,
through the whole pandemic and everything, I went to work every day. I went in to work 10 hours a day and then came home because I worked I work for a fruit company. So we were in the essential, shipping fruit and food and stuff like that. So we basically worked. We didn't work from home. We worked in the office. And so I didn't feel like my life changed other than when I was at work, I had to wear a mask. And when I wasn't, I didn't. So those were just kind of the things that it was weird because my family was going through this. Their life was completely turned upside down. Their routines were different. They didn't go to school anymore. They were stuck at home all the time. I would go to work, I would come home, and they would be home all day, right? So they had all this time to do whatever they wanted to during the day. And they would just basically, by the second or third week of being home, they were just bored to death. And they were just like, we've got to do something. And that's when they started bugging me about doing dances.
okay. You mentioned you started with Renegades.
Yeah.
Uh, what got into Bollywood? I think you saw it coming, right? Right before I asked this question.
Yeah, that was just kind of somebody requested. It was a dance that started about teach me how to Dougie. It was this teach me how to Dougie dance that went into this kind of Indian song. And so somebody requested, hey, do this one, right? They sent us the video, they tagged us in it. They said, Ricky, try this one. And so we're like, okay. So Dallin and I went out and we did it. We did horribly. I mean, I thought I did terrible, right? And people were just like, oh, that was awesome. Now try this one, right? And so that's kind of where it took off. It just sort of went from we tried this one dance and then people were like, now try this one, now try this one. And so we just started taking requests from people. We started doing these dances and
And these
eventually
were
somebody
just and these were just friends in and around,
they were
or
people that were following us, right? They were just our followers, not friends. We had no idea who they were from anybody, right? But we were just they were following us, and we were asking people that were following us to kind of give us some requests on what they wanted to see, what we should do next, and they did. They started giving us these requests, and a bunch of them started giving us these Indian dances after we had done that one that was kind of a teach me how to Dougie deal. And then it just kind of turned into, hey, TikTok is banned in India and we have to share these things on other social media platforms. You really need to look into something else so that people in India can see these dances. And so that's when Reels was kind of becoming a thing. And I looked it down and I said, what is Reels and what do we do? Right. And he's like, well, I think it's like TikTok. And I'm like, well, go figure it out. And so he came back and he's like, Dad, it's just like TikTok. You basically do a dance or you record something and you post it. And so we started recording dances and posting them or doing our TikTok and then posting it as a reel. And it just took off. I mean, we went from basically no followers to 250,000 followers in less than like 3 weeks or something like that. So it was just insane. And we were just like, whoa, what's going on here? Right. And it was a lot of fun. We just really enjoyed every, and again, it was just, once we got going, people were like, hey, do this one. We had people from India contacting us and saying, basically, hey, this is what's trending here. You should try it, So we're like, okay, let's try it. So it was pretty cool.
But till that point, you had no exposure to Bollywood music. Did you have Indian friends growing up? Because Utah, middle of nowhere in Washington, probably not.
No, I didn't have any Indian friends. Of course, I knew what Bollywood was because there were little parts in movies every once in a while that they would reference Bollywood, or there would be some kind of a Bollywood dance. I remember, I think our drill team or something did some Bollywood-esque type dance when they were doing just for fun because it was something different. But I really didn't have a lot of exposure to Bollywood. So I thought the songs were fun. I thought they were energetic. They were, and that's kind of what I've always looked for. If I can get into the music, if I can dance to the beat, if I can feel it, then I can dance to it. I don't have to understand what the lyrics are saying. I don't have to understand what's going on. If I can, get it. I mean, to be honest with you, my first impression of Bollywood when I first started it is like, why are they dancing so offbeat? Right? Because in America we hit the hard beats and we dance to the hard beats on music, right? Where there is a lot of layers in Indian music, and I had to really learn to listen for that. But there's a lot of layers in there, and there is a dance beat in that music, and that's what they're dancing to. But it doesn't always follow the really hard kind of beat to that music. But there is some method to that madness, right? When I saw it when I was a kid, I just remember thinking, "There's totally offbeat. They have no rhythm. What are they doing?" Right? But I've really come to appreciate it and enjoy it because of the complexity of their music.
Yeah, with a background in clogging, was it really hard to pick up Bollywood songs?
No, actually it wasn't. And I think a lot of my upbringing in clogging and footwork and dancing, people are like super surprised, like, how can you do that? And I'm just like, I just do. Like it's not that, to me, it hasn't been so difficult, because if I can get the beat and I understand where they're hitting those beats, I can figure it out. And a lot of it I'm watching, we'll pull up the Bollywood song, the video or whatever it might be, and we watch, okay, let's find the 30-second clip where we can actually see them dance and figure that out. And then that's what we'll do. Or, we'll find somebody else that is doing the dance on Reels and we'll learn it from them. Right. So we've learned a lot of dances by just watching other people do the dances. And people are amazed. Like, I can't believe you're right with the lyrics. You're doing exactly what they're doing. And I'm like, well, I just learned it that way to that part of the song too. I'm just doing what somebody else is doing. Right. So that's, to me, it's not as amazing, but I don't, but to a lot of people in India, it is. It's kind of, they're like, it's kind of cool,
Yeah. Having explored different types of dance, do you think learning one can help the other, or Because in music, it's quite different. Like if you are trained in one kind of music, it may be difficult to pick up something because something else. But with dance, do you think it's easier to? What is your take on it?
Well, I think that yes and no. I think I like to learn different dances because it just challenges me in body movement, right? There is there's steps in the Indian dances that are very difficult for me just because my body doesn't move that way. Or, I have to retrain my body to do a certain thing, right? When I do kind of an African style dance, they're very fluid in what they do, but I feel very awkward in those movements sometimes because I'm not used to it. I don't know how to do it. So it's a challenge. It kind of puts me into that position of, okay, I got to feel the music and I've got to just vibe with it. So there's a lot of it where I try to do the best I can with that step, but a lot of it is me. I just do me with an attempt at that step, right? And so there's probably a lot of my body movement and rhythm to those steps, but it's an attempt to try to do that step,
Right.
right?
I mean, I'm no dancer and I don't know much about dance, but I think from noticing your way of dancing and from your videos, I think a lot of what you do is very authentic, like you said. There is a bit of clogging, and you're not completely imitating what the dance or the what the dancer has done in the video. You sort of bring your own touch or your own niche to it. I think that's probably what makes you so popular.
I kind of have to, right? My kids are always telling me, Dad, you overdo it, right? Like you're too much. You bring too much. I'm like, I can't do it any other way. That's just the way it's like I learned to dance a certain way, and it's not just with arms, it's with the whole body, and not just sort of half in it and just kind of vibing. A lot of it is like when I learned to dance in the 80s and 90s, and we like you know, in the 80s, we danced and it was full body stuff. And it was, it wasn't just this, grooving and vibing thing, right? And so I bring a lot more to, I feel like I try to just put myself into it, but I try to do the dance steps as closely as I can. But there's times where I'm like, okay, well, it feels more natural for me to do it this way than it does to try to be more rigid with it or something like that. So I just, definitely I do the dance, but with a twist of me.
Yeah, and I think because a lot of these dancing is not classical, it's highly unlikely that you will get any haters like, oh, you messed this up because this is such a classical form, and so on. Um, Growing up, did you party a lot? Were you center of attraction at a bar or something? Just
You
want to.
know, I we when as a like teenager and stuff like that, we would go to some dance clubs every once in a while. My best friend and I, and we would dance and things, go there. But a lot of it was just church youth dances and school dances. And I grew up in an area where we had school dances after almost every football game. Home games and things like that. So there were a lot of dances and opportunities to just kind of dance without going out and partying and getting crazy or whatever like that. But no, we had a lot of fun. It's funny that you say something about the traditional dances, right? I did have people. Sometimes I make things up because I can't find a dance to a certain song, so I'll just make it up myself because I'll be like, okay, well, I've learned a few Indian moves, so I'll just kind of put it here and there, right? And I did this one dance, and people were all over me because they're like, that was a sad song and you made it not sad, And I'm just like, well, it made me want, I mean, that's how I made me feel, right? It's like, because it was groovy. It wasn't sad to me. It was good. But yeah, if I don't get it right, that's the thing is with Indian, um, I've really come to know that their dance steps and their music tell a story, and they kind of really go with the music. Um, and in America, we really don't do that a lot of times. We just sort of if the step goes with the beat and the sound, we'll do it. It doesn't necessarily, sometimes it will, sometimes it'll be interpretive, but most of the time it's just, it's just a dance step.
Yeah, what I think is it's probably because of the little bit of infiltration of classical music into Indian movie or Bollywood as well. Because Indian classical dance is very lyrical. So someone sings a song and then the expressions are sort of matching what the lyric says. So I think that's where it comes from.
Sure.
Yeah.
But no, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, we just do it to have fun. And our intention was to never, like, people are always like, hey, why don't you wear, more clothes, traditional Indian clothes, and I didn't want to. I mean, I wasn't trying to make fun of the tradition, and people started sending me clothes. Here, wear this, and I'm like, okay, they sent it to me, I guess I better wear it. But we never wanted to, like, go into where we were going to offend somebody or make it about a culture thing. We were just having fun, learning the dances, and attempting other people's style of dance.
Yeah, to your point of how you danced in a certain way and the song meant something else, one of my friends had loved the song, and then she wanted it in her marriage video, in her wedding video, and she put that song, but then it turned out that it's a very sad song, but she loved the song, so she put it anyway. So
Nice.
yeah. So that can happen.
Yep.
So you put your dance on TikTok and Instagram. When did you, I mean, you said you went to 250,000 in like 3 weeks. Did life change at all? From fans?
Not for me here in the States. No, not at all. I mean, most people had no idea I was even on social media at that point, right? It was just kind of, it happened so fast. Most of my followers were from India. On Instagram, TikTok is mostly the States, and a few other countries that started following me there as well. But yeah, here I was a graphic designer, a dad, went to work, came home, did my dances, posted them. I mean, we've gotten recognized like 2 or 3 times, basically outside of the, just outside doing our day-to-day stuff. But yeah, nothing's really changed, really.
But there must be someone who was scrolling one fine day and then you pop up, and then when they look at the likes, it's like 1 million or whatever. So nothing of that sort.
Yeah, I mean, well, every once in a while, like at work, somebody would say something, but it was more in like a jokingly way, right? Ha ha, I saw you on my For You page, or I saw this or that, or hey, you got a lot of followers, or I didn't know you were famous, and I'm like, I'm not, So it's just kind of, it was just sort of this jokingly, ha ha ha, good job, how did that happen? And I'm like, I don't know, so. But I think it helps being, I guess, more known or more famous outside of the country.
Yeah.
But I think people keep telling me if I went to India that I wouldn't be able to walk around. People would know who I was. And I kind of have a hard time believing that. I would love to just go and just see what happens. But
do you plan to?
Eventually, we would like to get there. Yeah, eventually.
Okay. How did your wife, I mean, kids were loving it, I'm pretty sure, but was your wife like, oh my God, not again, not another dance video, come on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. And she knows that I like it, and she just sort of tolerates it, as long as I don't make her do very many. I actually had her do a dance today, and so we're posting that one, and she's like, don't, I don't like to do these, right? And I'm like, yeah, I do. So she as long as she doesn't have to get involved, she's fine with it.
Okay. So how long do you take to learn a dance? I mean, you come back from work and it's instant? You just pick it up and you post it on the very same day?
It takes probably anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour to learn the dance. But a lot of times it's finding the dance. I've got to scroll through and go, oh, that one looks fun. Let's do that one.
You
And
should
then
hire a team for that.
and then I watch it over and over and over again, and I learn it, the dance steps, and then I just keep practicing it. And then I start recording, and I probably do it about 20 times until I like it, and then we post it that night. So I just try to do it. I try to do it within an hour because I've got other things I have to do too, right? I can't just spend my whole day doing TikToks after I get home. My wife, she'd probably shoot me.
Yeah. What is the one video that you got the most responses for?
Oh dear. So many.
Yeah, that might be a tough one to pick.
The most recent one, I mean, the biggest one we've ever had on TikTok was a Beyonce one my son and I did. And I think that one's been the biggest one that we've ever done on TikTok, like 50 some odd million views. And then Instagram, I think we have some in the maybe 20 million views. But some of them are Indian, some of them aren't. So it just kind of depends, really. One right now that's sort of taken off is an Indian from, where is it from? Oh, I can't remember the state that it's from.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, right now it's got almost 9 million or maybe over 9 million right now, and it just seems like people are showing it like crazy on their stories right now. So that's kind of how I can tell something kind of resonated with people. All of a sudden they start saying, hey, somebody shared this on their story. Somebody shared this on their story. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Do you still, how do I put it, realize the trends and try to make videos based off of trends, or you just do it for fun?
I've always just sort of done it for fun. People will request songs and we'll do them not knowing if they're trend or not. I mean, if it's, like I said, if it's a fun song and it's catchy and I like it, I'll do it. Whether it's trending or not, or, to be honest, I don't know what's trending half the time, right? I'm just this old guy on social media, just, doing dances. I don't spend a lot of time to figure out what's trending, what's not. I did have a couple people in India every once in a while that would send me, hey, this is trending now, and so you should do this one. And so, we would try that dance or something like that. But and we still get that every once in a while. People will just like they'll send it to us and say, hey, this is trending right now, you should do it.
Okay. Yeah, and you sometimes post videos of bloopers. I think that's a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, we don't save a lot of those. So every once in a while, when there is we accidentally do save one, I figured, hey, you know what, people, that's the thing that I really appreciate, right? There's a lot of dancers that I follow that I watch them and I just assume that they get everything right the first time and they just put the song on, they do it, and then it's perfect, right? And then you see then they post a blooper and you're like, oh, good, they're just like me, right? They do mess up, they're not robots. They don't do it perfect every time. And I think sometimes maybe people think that about me, but that's so far from the truth. Anybody who's ever done a collaboration with me or anybody who's ever done anything with me realizes that, oh, dude, this guy will do it 100 times if I have to make sure that I feel good about it. I don't want to post something that I don't like. But every once in a while, there is a blooper that we cannot not save because it's just too funny.
Yeah. Have you been getting a lot of requests for collaborations? I saw a few.
We do every once in a while. Yeah. The hardest part is a lot of them aren't local. They're not close. And so it's not like we can just, get together and do something. But I've done some virtual collaborations with people. And and then some people that are local that we can get together a lot easier and do something. But no, I love doing collabs. It's a lot, it gets my kids, they don't have to do it. And then they can, because they're getting busier. Dallon's getting older. He's got a job now. He's working. So he doesn't have as much time as he used to.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle is not far and there are a lot of dancers there. So I'm pretty sure people would love to drive down.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Having watched quite a bit of Bollywood dance videos, who are your favorites?
I get that question a lot. And you would think by now I would have a good answer. But I don't. I mean, there are so many awesome dancers, and it's like every time I see them, and part of it is because I really have a hard time. My brain isn't trained to remember their names, and they're a little different for me to remember. But I think is it what's his is Rosen Hardrick Rose? What does he do?
Madhuri, Ritik.
Well, Madhuri she's awesome, and to be honest, we're probably about the same age. So it kind of is nice knowing that she can still dance and she's really good. I would love to actually, we did a collaboration at one point where I called and I was on the phone with her, and like her I would say her handlers, I don't know, her agents got on the phone first, and it was like, okay, so don't be nervous. And I'm like, okay, because honestly, I had no idea who she was, right? And they're like, I mean, it's like me talking. It would be like me talking to Michael Jackson, right? And I would be like, Michael Jackson's coming on, I'd be like freaking out, right? And they're like, don't be nervous. And I'm like, okay. And so she gets on, and I'm like, okay. I said, so tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do? And she was probably like going, this guy has no idea, right? But it was cool. So we sat there and talked for like 10 minutes and just had this conversation that I think, in a way, I think maybe she thought it was kind of cool because I really didn't know who she was. And she's like, oh, this is refreshing. I can have a conversation with this guy, and he's not like having this crazy reaction. And then we got up and she taught me a dance, and we did this thing, and we kind of danced together virtually. But it would be awesome to actually, have her meet personally and have her teach me something and do something together. But that was cool.
Yeah, I think people who are really, really famous would love to talk to someone who does not know them, because it's so refreshing, right? They are so used to fans sort of throbbing them all the time.
Well, see, that would be the case. Honestly, they would probably, I don't know, they're probably more apt to, just know people than I am, right? If I went to India and somebody's showing me around and they took me to this place and it had all these famous people in it, I would have no clue like who was who and what. I'd be just like, hey, what's going on? So I don't know. But it was cool because she was awesome. She was so sweet. Just the nicest lady. And I would assume that that's the way she is with everybody, but I don't know. Right. But, it's just kind of, it was a great conversation, and it was a great experience.
Okay.
And then I learned afterwards how big she was.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She's pretty big. I think from the early 90s.
Yeah.
She's this. I think everyone names her when someone asks who is your favorite dancer. Madhuri is sort of the number one in their list. Yeah.
Well, there's the guy that did what did he do?
Was it South Indian?
Is it Hardik Rosen? Is it Hardik Rosen or something?
That name doesn't ring a bell to me.
I'm probably saying it wrong. Name some. I think he's.
There are lots of names. There is there's Vijay in the south, there is Allu Arjun and all those guys in the south, and then there is Shahid Kapoor who's a good dancer, I think. I don't know. um yeah, Hrithik Roshan is good, and there is
That was the one right there.
yeah, Hrithik Roshan, yeah, he's pretty famous, he's well known for his dance, yeah. And then there is Tiger Shroff, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I've heard
Good.
of them. Yeah, that's the thing is like I can sort of see their names in my head, but I just don't know how to pronounce them half
Cannot
the time.
cannot register, right? It
Yeah,
can be hard.
it's like, okay, I'm saying that completely wrong and I know it, but hopefully they'll kind of understand what I'm saying. I'm sorry if I offended anybody.
I think people are going to be fine. I mean, you have done nothing but spread positivity on the internet, so it's all fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, any social media advice for people who want to be an influencer? I know you are someone who just did not do this to be an influencer, but this is an age when people want to be an influencer, they want to get popular and whatnot. But I think one of the
Yeah.
things that you say is that be authentic and be sort of true to yourself and do it for fun. I think that's something that I got from our conversation. But if you were to say something to people who, let's say they got freedom, or let's say, sorry, not freedom, but let's say they got fame uh, too fast. What do you think they should do to be grounded? I think one of the things that helped you was you were here in the US, but any thoughts on that?
Um, well, like I think just repeating everything that you said, do something that you enjoy. Um, don't try to be somebody you're not. Don't do things just to get followers, because to be honest, you'll probably attract the wrong people. Don't try so hard. If you're doing something that you love, there's going to be people out there that love it because of the authentic, how authentic it is for you, right? I think people are really easily, those they can pick when you're faking it. They can pick when you're not being really true to you. Um, and I think that's where people get into, they get themselves into trouble by trying too hard, and then they get down on themselves when it doesn't blow up, right? I post things and I forget about it and I go to the next thing. I like to, I try, and I've been really bad lately of trying to reply to everybody in my comments. My goal at first was to the first 100 people that commented on my video, I was going to reply to them. And I did that for a long time. And then it got crazy and I tried to do it as much as I could. And then, it got to the point where I couldn't. But I still do. I still get on. I read a lot of the comments. And my advice would to just ignore the negative comments. Who cares? Right? If you love it and you enjoy what you do, who cares what other people think?
Yeah, there is this concept called the death of the author. I don't know who uh, initially, sort of coined the term, but like death of the author basically means that you just author a book and then just let it out and forget about it.
Yeah. And that honestly, that's a lot of times that's what I do. I do a dance, I post it, and then we're on to the next. And so consistency, I think, is the biggest key. People, and I don't think you have to post, I post once a day. That's all I do. I post one dance every day, and that's it. I don't have time to post 6 things. I don't have time for that, right? I work 10 hours a day and I have a family. So my goal is just to post once a day. And if I'm consistent with that, I feel like consistency is key. I post the exact same time every day. And so people are expecting my reel to be posted that same time. And they expect it to pop up sometime during this time and this time. And if it doesn't, they're like, oh, we missed your reel. Yes. So it's kind of like people are expecting it. So just be consistent. And I think if you're consistent, you're gonna grow. don't expect it to grow like super fast. You might get lucky and hit a video that just blows up. And, I've had videos that have blown up and I've got a lot of followers from it. And then the next few weeks, I get a lot of people that unfollow, right? Because you don't hit a viral video every time you post. And so people get bored with you, or they feel like, oh, maybe that guy wasn't as cool as I thought he was, or whatever. But it's an up and down thing. And if you worry too much about the likes, the follows, the comments, then you're not going to go anywhere. So do something that you love.
Do you follow analytics? Not the likes and the comments, but just the sheer numbers. Because that can
No,
also, not at all.
not at all.
Which can also mean that you're not too worried about if the number sort of plateaus or if the fame goes down. You're still the same old guy, working 8 to 5 or whatever, and then still doing your graphic design and whatnot, right?
Yeah, if something happened and this turned into something, great. But I don't expect it to, because, I turned 50 this year. And, it's kind of like, I feel like my life has been sort of, it is what it is. But, if it turns into something else, great. If it doesn't, I'm having fun. And that's kind of what it's all about at this point. I'm having a lot of fun. If opportunity comes, I'm going to take it. But if it doesn't, then, I enjoyed myself. I did something that I had fun with and that that I have a passion for. So can't get any worse.
Yeah. Keeping life simple.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you want to do something with the fame that you got? This is a question a lot of people ask influencers, is that, hey, you have this really good privilege that you can influence a lot of people. Do you ever plan on using this for something else that you really care about in this world? Let's say, I don't know, climate change or something of that sort, or it's okay if you've never not put thought into it. That's fine.
Well,
But
to be honest, I keep politics out of it. And I just keep my personal life or belief out of it. And the simple fact that I'm on here to entertain, have fun, dance. And if I feel like, just like anybody, you throw out some opinion, you're going to alienate 50% of the people that are following you right now. And you're going to either lose them, or they, I don't know. It's just it's a weird time that we live in right now. And, back when I was growing up, you could disagree with somebody, but still be friends. And it's kind of in a weird world right now where if you disagree, then you just can't have any association, which is just crazy to me. Right. But I just kind of keep that out. There's been a lot of people that have said that in comments of, hey man, you've got this platform, you should use it for this. And I'm like, well, my platform is this is what my platform is, and that's, I don't want to jump out into that realm, because it changes what my brand is once you jump out into those realms, right? I do have strong beliefs and I do have strong stances on things, but it's not for my social media.
fantastic. Maybe this is a good place to end the podcast as well. I want to know what has been some of the most amazing things fans have done for you, which made you go, wow, people love me so much.
I've had people send me clothing, traditional clothing. I've had them, reach out in DMs and just kind of express how much they, our dances have kind of uplifted their mood or changed the way, they woke up and they were just feeling down and they turned on. It was the first thing they saw and it just, made them real excited or whatever for the day. And And those are the things that are honestly, those are the things that make it well worth it, right? It's not the, it's not the 1,000 views or, or millions of views. It's the, hey, you know what? It touched somebody's life today. It made them feel a little bit better. And that's really what it's all about. There's too many things going on that is just negative out there, that it's kind of fun to just do stuff that make people feel good.
Other than your love for dancing, does this expression of love from your fans also push you just that little bit more to
Sure.
post?
Sure. Yeah. I feel the pressure at times that like I have nothing to post. And, I try to post by 8 p.m. every night. And because I get home at 5 and I get home and it takes an hour to learn. And then I post about 8 o'clock. And sometimes, I get home and I just don't feel like just jumping right onto a dance. And then all of a sudden it's 6:30, 7 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, I don't have a dance. What am I going to do? And I'm starting to feel the pressure. Like I got to post something, right? Even though I've got like hundreds of drafts in my phone. And there's been like this last week, it's been crazy. Kids just started school again. So life has been just crazy. And so I've posted a lot of drafts, things, bloopers, things that have been on my reels for in my drafts forever, just because haven't had the time to really learn something new because I've been preoccupied with other things. So I do feel the pressure to post, but it's a good pressure.
That's awesome. Well, Ricky, thank you so much for joining my podcast. I think you spread a lot of positivity. I think you're a dancing dad and also a smiling dad. So keep smiling and spreading positivity. Keep entertaining all of us, all your fans. They're just loving what you do, and I hope you continue doing so.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate you having me on. It was a pleasure. Go follow me, Ricky.Pond on Instagram, Ricky Pond on TikTok. And I don't know, I think it's the real Ricky Pond or something on YouTube. The link's in my bio somewhere.
Absolutely. You should have your kids, if they're around, just come say hi.
Oh, I don't know where Dellen is. He's not down here. I would have him come say hi.
That's
But
okay.
sorry, I told him, I said, hey, you gonna hang around so you can pop in here? And he's like, I don't know. He's a teenager.
Yeah, I can understand that. Awesome, Ricky. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a great evening.
You too.
All right.